of the 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee. And I would like to inform you that in the morning we had a meeting of the Bureau. During this meeting, we agreed that 2 items which were remained open from yesterday, I mean the item 7B3 for the Sundarbans, as well as the Kenya Lake System 7B33, will be discussed at 12:30 at the end of the morning session. So please note it, and we will proceed accordingly to the next discussion concerned with the Kathmandu Valley from Nepal. I now invite Mr. Feng Jin and ICOMOS to present the next report on the state of conservation of the cultural properties located in Asia and Pacific region. So we're coming to Kathmandu, and you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, distinguished committee members, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Details of the conservation issues identified for the World Heritage Property Kathmandu Valley are summarized in working document 43-7B on pages 148 to 151 of the English version and pages 152 to 156 of the French language version of the working document. The committee may recall that in July 2003, due to the uncontrolled urban development which continuously decreases the urban landscape and the architectural fabric of the property and the lack of the management mechanism of the property, the site was put on the list of World Heritage in danger. With significant mitigation measures taken by the state party to address these issues, particularly the establishment of the integrated management framework and also the redefinition of the property boundaries and buffer zones, the site was removed from the list of World Heritage in danger in July 2007 in Christchurch, New Zealand. Most recently, the property is threatened by the impacts of the severe earthquakes of April and May 2015 and by the uncontrolled urban development resulting in the loss of traditional urban fabric, in particularly privately owned houses. Further important threats include the lack of a coordinated management mechanism and new development projects carried out as part of the post-earthquake recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction processes. In view of the extensive damage caused to all 7 monument zones by the 2015 earthquakes, there is both a certain and a potential danger to the property as defined in paragraphs 177 and 179 of the operational guidelines. This was confirmed by both the October 2015 and March 2017 reactor monitoring missions. Therefore, since the 39th session of the committee, the discussion to put the site on the list was on the list of World Heritage in danger was ongoing. A report on the current state of conservation of the property was submitted by the state party on 1st February 2019. However, after careful review, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies consider that despite the positive measures adopted by the state party, the recovery process is not currently at an adequate scale to deal with the major challenges that are arising following the earthquakes. Although some recommendations of the 2015 and 2017 reactor monitoring missions have been addressed, they have not yet been systematically implemented, and the architecture and town planning coherence of the property continues to deteriorate. This is a consequence not only of the earthquakes itself, but of the unforeseen enormity of the resulting repair and conservation challenges. Conservation efforts have not covered the full extent of the property, and 4 years after the earthquake, nearly half of the reported damage is yet to be repaired. Despite some welcome success stories, not all of the works undertaken respect the distinctive traditional structures, materials, and the local practices, and some are therefore inconsistent with the outstanding universal value of the property. The extent of the unrepaired damage and the inappropriate works impact adversely on the property's authenticity and integrity, and therefore on the OUV. And there's high potential for even greater damage in the future. This clearly reinforces that the property's OUV faces both actual and potential threats in accordance with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines. Regarding a joint World Health Center ICOMOS-ICROM advisory mission requested by the committee in decision 41-7B-95, as per request of the representative of Nepal during the 2017 Krakow meeting, and reiterated in decision 42-7B-12, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies defined the terms of reference for this advisory mission, but the advisory mission was postponed several times before being cancelled. It is therefore considered that a reactive monitoring mission to the property is now warranted. To achieve the considerable amount of work still required to ensure recovery, the property needs even stronger mechanisms to coordinate and control projects undertaken by international and national agencies, along with overarching guidance and clear justifications for interventions based on the evidence and the documentation. It is recommended that committee encourage again the state party to initiate with technical support from the World Health Center and the advisory bodies, international scientific steering coordination mechanism tasked with assisting in the development of structures and resources to guide the recovery of the property and its OUV, while balancing social and economic community needs. As a consequence, the World Health Center and the advisory bodies recommend that the committee inscribe the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. This will help ensure that measures are taken to focus recovery on projects that sustain attributes of OUV, and will avoid reconstruction and construction activities that have potential to damage the authenticity of the property. It is also recommended that the international community continue supporting local communities and their housing and social needs, as well as ongoing conservation and the reconstruction efforts. Let me point out that the March 2017 mission discussed in detail with the state party the technical, planning, and legal and management measures necessary to recover the attributes of OUV. These could be considered as a contribution towards a desired state of conservation for the removal of the property from the list of World Heritage Endangered, which the state party would need to further develop and propose following the inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage Endangered. On 21st June 2019, the director of the World Heritage Center met with the ambassador of Nepal to UNESCO and debriefed him of the process on the preparation of the working document and for the committee and the proposal of danger listing for Kathmandu Valley. During the meeting, ongoing dialogue held with the state party on the possible organization of the reactor monitoring mission to the property. Mr. Chairperson, dear committee members, the draft decision 43-7B70 can be found in working document on page 150 of the English and 155 of the French version. Mr. Chairperson, with your permission, ICOMOS will now provide comments on this property. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the report. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The state party, its Department of Archaeology, ICOMOS and ICROM, and the UNESCO office in Kathmandu and many other national and international organisations have worked with local agencies and the community to repair the property and support affected communities in very challenging circumstances following the 2015 earthquakes. These efforts are acknowledged. However, the report of the 2017 Joint World Heritage Centre ICOMOS and ICROM Reactive Monitoring Mission outlined the scale and scope of damage across all 7 monument zones, as well as degraded housing and commercial properties, and the report highlighted the need to support and protect many damaged areas. Although much has been achieved, especially within the Durbar Square monument zones as shown on the screen, 4 years on from the 2015 earthquakes, a large proportion of the reported damage has yet to be repaired, and this has profound impact for the property and for the community. Although some recommendations of the 2015 and 2017 Joint World Heritage Centre ICROS and ICROM reactive monitoring missions have been addressed, they have not been fully implemented, and the attributes which contribute to the OUV of the property, especially its distinctive architecture and cohesive town planning, remain in a degraded state. This has arisen not only from the earthquake impact itself, but particularly because of the scale and resource requirements for repair and conservation, which are well beyond normal capacity of the agencies involved, despite the resources which have been deployed. Additional support and resources are needed. Despite some welcome success stories, not all of the works undertaken respect the distinctive traditional structures, materials and local practices, and some are therefore inconsistent with the outstanding universal value of the property, particularly affecting its integrity and authenticity. The property requires even stronger mechanisms to coordinate and control projects undertaken by international and national agencies, as well as overarching guidance. An international scientific steering coordination mechanism established with technical support from the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies could guide the recovery of the property while at the same time addressing community needs. It is disappointing that the proposed advisory commission, which the committee strongly encouraged at its 42nd session in 2018, has not occurred. A reactive monitoring mission is now proposed. Despite the considerable efforts of the state party and other organisations, the Kathmandu recovery process has not dealt with all of the major challenges that have arisen following the earthquake. The extent of unrepaired damage and inappropriate works impacts adversely on the property's authenticity and integrity, and therefore on its outstanding universal value. The property continues to be subject to both actual and potential threats to its outstanding universal value in accordance with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines. ICOMOS and ICROM consider that the circumstances of this property mean that in-danger listing would offer a much-needed opportunity to deploy essential technical planning, legal and management measures within a structured framework of agreed corrective measures, and thereby to support the state party in addressing significant ongoing threats to the property's outstanding universal value. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I would like to have some comments from the committee members. China.
Thank you, Chair. We listened to the World Heritage Center representative and ICMOS representative's comment very carefully. I think we all know that the case concerning the Kathmandu is the result of a devastating earthquake, an 8.1 magnitude earthquake that caused massive losses of lives and properties, and including those listed as World Heritage. Nepal is a small developing nation with very limited resources. And the restoration of such a magnitude of such a large scale of recovery work takes time. China, together with a number of other countries, have been actively involved in the restoration, in helping the restoration of those sites. Taking one example that China is currently engaging, since 2017, the 9-story temple, one of the property, which requires 58 months, which may almost 5 years, and it is ongoing. It's not because of its World Heritage architecture in ancient building. We cannot apply modern technology to do it. Everything has to be done in accordance with requirements made by World Heritage Center and ICMOS. And therefore, the miracle sort of China speed cannot apply in those circumstances. So the process will be painstaking, and it takes time. But we, together with the international community, will continue to assist the country in the process. I wish also to stress that the culture is, the Asian culture actually is slightly different from many other cultures. And they may not, in Asia, it may not really be helpful. A property listed in danger, this very label may not really help them to be perceived as a helping hand. And that is important. I think the state party involved is deserved to be heard. And I would like to ask the chair to give the state party a floor to explain themselves, explaining the level of work they have already done, the commitments that they have been making, and also, most importantly, the mobilization that they have been engaging. And they have invited advisory commissions twice which did not occur for
clear.
various reasons.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Indonesia would like to thank the advisory bodies on its reports on the state of conservation of Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. Indonesia also would like to commend the government of Nepal on its continuous collaborative efforts with national and international organizations, as well as other related stakeholders, to repair and recover the Kathmandu Valley and very challenging circumstances. We take note with pleased on the improvements so far and acknowledge the strong commitment of the government of Nepal to implement the decisions of the committee. Taking into account the progress and good intentions of the state party to protect and conserve this property, Indonesia is of the view that it is appropriate to allow the state party to continue its efforts for another year before being considered to be listed in the World Heritage in danger. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for your proposal. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance to paragraph 183 of the operation guidelines, this committee, to be able to make a decision on putting a site on danger, has to do some homework. One of the important requirements of these paragraphs of the operation guidelines is to do whatever we want to do in consultation with the third party. Tanzania, therefore, would want to hear from the third party in their involvement in these activities, which is leading now to put this site on a World Heritage in danger. So I go in line, Tanzania goes in line with Japan. We would want to hear from the third party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Australia also recognises and greatly appreciates the immense scale of the works facing the state party following the 2015 earthquake. We also note that many of the recommendations in the 2018 decision are included in the current draft decision, and that it's not been possible to have a full report on the progress of these recommendations or the implementation of these recommendations because the advisory mission recommended in 2018 has not been able to go ahead. In the spirit of positive dialogue, we urge the state party to work with the advisory bodies to enable a reactive monitoring mission to take place as soon as possible. However, given the apparent slow progress in the implementation of the recommendations from 2018 and the scale of the work required to sustain the attributes of the outstanding universal value of the property, we consider that the decision to include Kathmandu on the World Heritage List in danger is appropriate and in line with the aims of the in danger listing and may assist the party in speeding the recovery efforts. We also consider that the text of several of the recommendations in the draft decision concerning the recovery process and how best to approach the implementation of that process could be clarified, and along with our colleagues in Norway and Hungary, we have submitted amendments to the draft decision to this effect. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please. Oh, sorry, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the delegation of Zimbabwe notes the progress that has been made on the reconstruction and rehabilitation work since the 42nd session of the World Heritage Committee. This includes the rehabilitation works of 40 monuments that have been completed. More importantly, the state party is still continuing with these rehabilitation works, which employ traditional conservation practices. The state party has also shown its commitment to reinstate all the cultural properties of Kathmandu Valley by undertaking the necessary measures for ensuring quality work that is based on traditional construction practices associated with the property. As such, the progress made so far should be considered satisfactory in view of the damage caused by a natural disaster and not human injuries. It is also important, Mr. Chairman, that the committee takes note that the state party has re-established local level government after a long gap, along with a stable central government, conditions which are going to spur forward the rehabilitation of the property. In view of the above, together with China, Zimbabwe has proposed some amendments on the draft decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like, first of all, to thank ICOMOS for its report. And in line with the statement made by China, I would like to reinforce that this 2015 earthquake produced tragic consequences affecting the Nepalese people and causing severe damage to a very important World Heritage Site. And despite its limitations concerning not only financial means but also specialized human resources added to other significant challenges, the state party has kept a strong commitment towards recovering the property, having already addressed more than 50% of the damaged monuments with the support of UNESCO Kathmandu office, as acknowledged in the ICOMOS report. We understand that the state party needs additional capacity building and financial resources to be able to fully comply with the recommendations made by the advisory body. In this sense, we do believe that it is doubtful that inscribing the property on the list of World Heritage Danger will assure the financial means and technical cooperation that the country needs so much. On the other hand, inscription on the list may send a negative message to tourists, one of the country's most important source of revenue, therefore hindering the country's potential to attract more financial means. We understand that the country should be allowed more time to carry on the rehabilitation process, and that the progress of the ongoing works should be evaluated by a joint World Heritage ICOMOS-ICROM reactive monitoring mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Chair. Norway notes with great satisfaction the committed efforts of the State Party in recovering and improving the general state of conservation of this very significant property. We further note the contributions of national and international organizations towards the recovery of the property through the implementation of the Recovery Master Plan, as well as through repair and conservation works already undertaken. 4 years after this tragic earthquake, we commend the State Party for having addressed already half of the reported damage, while registering that certain challenges are outlined concerning the work undertaken. We truly commend the State Party's continuous and substantial effort, but we also have in front of us a draft decision which for the fourth time suggests including this site on the list of World Heritage in Danger to secure added resources and assistance. There is a significant amount of work remaining to ensure recovery and safeguarding of the outstanding universal values. On this background, Norway supports the position of the World Heritage Centre and ICOMOS, as we believe danger listing as a tool indeed has positive effects. We were humble witnesses to 2 World Heritage properties being removed from the list of World Heritage in Danger 2 days ago, and we saw demonstrated how the targeted advice, deep consultations, and increase of resources led to establishment of a shared understanding of desired and prioritized corrective actions. Actions which later allowed the committee to remove the properties from the danger list. Norway believes this may also be of great benefit for the State Party of Nepal and its continued high-quality efforts in this outstanding World Heritage Site. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier l'ICOMOS de du rapport édifiant qui nous a été présenté, qui nous éclaire sur la situation très grave qu'a subi le site, notamment après le tremblement de terre de 2015, mais également, et comme le reconnaît le rapport lui-même, les efforts consentis par l'État partie et le progrès qui a été réalisé malgré toutes les difficultés jusque-là dans la restauration. La question qui se pose pour nous aujourd'hui, au moment de la discussion de ce projet de décision, c'est de savoir est-ce que l'inscription sur la liste du patrimoine en péril permet d'avancer par rapport à l'objectif que nous partageons tous, c'est-à-dire revenir autant que possible au statu quo ante, ou alors la non-inscription pourrait être un signal positif. Je crois que les deux idées se valent. Mais en tout état de cause, nous avons aujourd'hui les autorités du Népal qui disent leur engagement et qui souhaitent travailler de concert avec le centre, avec ICOMOS, et nous considérons que l'inscrire sur la liste pourrait être un signal de fléchissement de cet engagement national. Alors, je crois qu'on pourrait, en toute responsabilité, donner davantage de temps à l'État partie et lui demander de revenir l'année prochaine devant le comité pour voir est-ce que cet espace supplémentaire aura servi à progresser. Et auquel cas, si la réponse est négative, le comité pourra, dans ce cas, l'inscrire sur la liste. C'est pour cela que la Tunisie soutient l'idée de donner davantage de temps à l'État partie pour lui permettre d'avancer et de bénéficier de cet élan de solidarité internationale. Aujourd'hui, ce site a plus besoin d'un élan de solidarité qu'une mise à l'index à ce stade.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I wish a good morning to all colleagues. We have listened to the interventions very carefully during this morning, and we also acknowledge the enormity of the task the State Party has to face following the devastating earthquake of 2015 that has claimed many lives. This committee has been debating on Kathmandu for years now, and last year my delegation supported the postponement of the decision to inscribe Kathmandu on the list of World Heritage in Danger in order to give the State Party more time and mostly to invite a reactive monitoring mission before 2019. However, seeing that despite the request last year, little progress has been made, we believe that the time has come now that in accordance with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines, we inscribe Kathmandu on the list of World Heritage in Danger. We believe there is a very dangerous narrative surrounding the list of World Heritage in Danger as some kind of blacklist of World Heritage properties, and we want to stress that this is not the case. It's a mechanism foreseen by the Convention, first of all, to help and assist conservation. The State Party's engagement towards safeguarding of this site is not being called into question. We also would like to urge the State Party again to invite the reactive monitoring mission to take place as soon as possible. And as it has already been acknowledged during the debate, we have also submitted amendments to this draft decision. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, let me show my great thanks for the ICOMOS for the report they submitted and the World Heritage Center, and also like to thank for the progress of the State Party for the things that have been done since the last meeting in Manama. But I think it's what we are missing here, the reactive monitoring mission. That's, I think that's really important to have the whole picture. So Kuwait really urged the State Party to facilitate, and hopefully since last year all the obstacles have been removed, to host the reactive mission to have better, clear picture of the situation over there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to give the floor to the State Party. Nepal, please, to answer the questions which were given to.
Excellency Chair, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to government of Azerbaijan, making excellent arrangements for the 43rd meeting of World Heritage Committee. Nepal delegates wishes for the success of this meeting. Government of Nepal is incessantly working for the conservation, reconstruction and rehabilitation of all damaged cultural heritage following the devastating earthquake of 2015. we have circulated yet memo to all members of the World Heritage Committee outlines the conservation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation works that are already completed, including ongoing projects in line outstanding universal values by using traditional materials and craftsmanship. World Heritage property in Kathmandu Valley were damaged by devastating earthquake 2015 with 8,000 plus human casualties, and hundreds of thousands of private houses also were demolished. At that time, there was political instability and transition of decades-long internal conflict. Despite such a situation, 250 heritage monuments are rehabilitated all over the country. In Kathmandu Valley, out of 140 monuments, 96 have been rehabilitated, and 40 more will be completed by December 2019. Next year, in 2020, all monuments will be rehabilitated. Government of Nepal has amended Procurement Act and regulation for rehabilitation, which makes fast-track procurement time period have been shortened from 30 days to 15 days. Ceiling for community-based rehabilitation program extended from 1 crore to 10 crore Nepal rupees. Department of Archaeology is fully equipped with 100 engineers, architects, and other supporting staffs for conservation and rehabilitation. Department of Archaeology conducted and is still running technical training to various stakeholders, especially focusing on youth, in coordination with World Heritage Center, e-commerce, ICROM, and UNESCO office in Kathmandu, and local government also within NGO and INGOs. Department of Archaeology is running a series of skill training to capacity building for artisans, masons, carpenters, wood carvings. Now we have enough manpower. We have established cultural management system to provide information for the rehabilitation activities and facilitate the stakeholders. Illegally encroached Tilganga, Tamraganga Road in Pasupatinath Monument Zone permanently closed now in last June 2019, and vehicle movements is completely stopped, and stone, concrete wall and trees made and trees have been planted. We always welcome the visit of joint reactive and advisory missions. We will have our full support to missions. Such mission will enable us to have first-hand information regarding the progress as well as to chart out the future course. Meanwhile, federal, provincial, and local level government are implementing rehabilitation and reconstruction work, and standard code of conduct for new construction is implemented in urban areas, especially focusing in the heritage side. In view of achievement made so far and our efforts and commitments to the good cause, the government of Nepal humbly requests to esteem the World Heritage Committee to allow State Party Nepal to move forward with conservation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation activities with the support of UNESCO and other development partners without placing Kathmandu Valley World Heritage property in danger list. Once again, Excellency Chair, I would like to assure to the UNESCO...
Sorry, how long you need another time?
Yeah.
Half a minute.
Just 1 minute, yeah. Excellency Chair, once again, I would like to assure to the UNESCO World Heritage Committee with our full commitment of completing all remaining conservation and rehabilitation work within a specified time period. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, as soon as there is no other comment from the committee members, we listen to the State Party. I would like to give the floor to the rapporteur because we have two amendments on the table. Okay, please. Ikomos, you have some comments.
Thank you, Chair. If I may take a few moments to respond and clarify in relation to the committee member interventions. I'd particularly firstly like to clarify in relation to the contribution from the distinguished delegate from China that the advisory mission was requested by the committee, and it was in fact not possible to hold the advisory mission because the necessary arrangements were not made for that. In relation to the progress that has been made is acknowledged, but it is important that committee members understand that the progress has particularly been in the prominent Durbar components of the property as shown on the screen. This property has 7 components, and as the distinguished delegate from Nepal has pointed out, there were thousands of buildings that have been damaged. And much of the damage that has not been repaired is not in the prominent tourist components, it's in the components that affect the daily lives of the Kathmandu community. And it is these that need additional resources and additional support. I note with respect to timing and having particular reference to the intervention from the Honourable Delegate from Tunisia, that exactly the same request has been made year on year. In 2015, when the earthquakes occurred, the State Party urged one more year to get its restoration and reconstruction activities in order. In 2016, when endanger listing was recommended, another year was requested. Another year was requested in 2017 and again in 2018. It is now 2019, and ICOMOS and ICROM do not feel it would be appropriate to be back here in 2027, again requesting one more year. This is not a reflection of the efforts or commitment of the State Party. It is a reflection of the size and challenge of the task at hand. And I could remind the committee of the outstanding success stories that were discussed in this very chamber 2 days ago with respect to the Church of the Nativity and the saltpeter works of in Humberston and Santa Clare, which show how, with commitment from the advisory bodies, the Centre and the State Party, the international community can rally through the framework of endanger listing. Endanger listing is not a finger-pointing exercise, and ICOMOS and ICROM would finally highlight that the time has come and there is not a choice between more time and endanger listing. More time and endanger listing can coexist. The difference is that endanger listing provides a framework of support and a roadmap for corrective measures that can address the integrity, authenticity and outstanding universal value of this extraordinarily important but very challenged World Heritage property. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for this clarification. Rapporteur, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 2 sets of amendments, one from China and Zimbabwe and one from Hungary, Norway and Australia. China and Zimbabwe's amendments are to the last 5 paragraphs of the draft decision only, and I'll flag the earlier ones now. The first paragraph remains unchanged. The second paragraph, Australia, Norway and Hungary recommend recalling more previous decisions of the committee, so it would now read, recalling decisions 40-7B 41, 41-7B 95 and 42-7B 12, adopted at its 40th Istanbul UNESCO 2016, 41st Krakow 2017 and 42nd Manama 2018 sessions respectively. Paragraph 3, 4 and 5 are not proposed for amendment. Australia, Norway and Hungary propose deletion of paragraph 6 in its entirety. And then they propose amendments to the former paragraph 7 and also the former paragraph 8, which they are combining. So I'll just read from the top of former paragraph 7, which would become 6. Considers that the recovery process needs to be further improved and hastened, and requests the State Party to, Part A, initiate with technical support from and in ongoing dialogue with the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies, an international scientific steering coordination mechanism tasked with assisting with the development of structures and resources to guide the recovery of the property and its OUV. It would then be 7B, or former paragraph 7B, now 6. And this was modifying former paragraph 8. It would read, invite a joint World Heritage Centre, ICOMOS-ICROM reactive monitoring mission to assess the state of conservation of the property to review progress with the implementation of the recommendations of the October 2015 and March 2017 missions, to assist with the development of a strategy for the implementation of the 6-year RMP and to provide guidance on its review. Then there's a new Part C proposed. Seek further technical support from the World Heritage Centre and advisory bodies in order to coordinate and guide the recovery of the property based on documentation, research, analysis and use of appropriate traditional methods and materials. And a new Part D, which would read, ensure all recommendations and outcomes of the above are fully integrated within the 6-year RMP. There's no proposed amendments to the former paragraph 9. Former paragraph 10 and 11, the China and Zimbabwe amendment proposes to modify former paragraph 10, and this would read, also requests the state party implement fully its already declared 6-year plan and complete all rehabilitation works within 2021 and report to the World Heritage Committee. The Australian, Norway and Hungary proposed amendments combines the former paragraph 10 and 11, and that would read, also considers that the potential and certain threats of the outstanding universal value of the property, notably the threats to authenticity through inappropriate reconstruction and conservation methods, are so considerable, and decides therefore in conformity with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines to inscribe Kathmandu Valley, Nepal on the list of World Heritage Danger. That combines 2 paragraphs. China and Zimbabwe amendment, however, proposes to delete the former paragraph 11, which you can see down the bottom there. And if we just move along, the former paragraphs 12 and 11, which are labelled here due to the vagaries of tracked changes as former 11 and 12. They're both proposed for complete deletion by the China and Zimbabwe amendments, and the final paragraph remains unchanged. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So what is the proposal? Should we start discussing the item? We have to look through it. So, okay, let's start. Number 1, clear. Number 2, can we adopt this version like proposed by Australia, Norway and Hungary? I see no objections here. Australia, please.
Mr. Chair, just reflecting on the ICOMOS intervention in terms of the listing of decisions which should be recalled. The first one made by the committee was 39 Com 7B.69, so we suggest that that should be included for reasons of completeness.
No objections? I don't see any. Approve. Number 3, number 4, it's clear. No any changes. Number 5 also. Number 6. Should we remove it, or what is the opinion of the honourable members of the committee? I don't see any objections for removal of this item from the text. Thank you. Number 7, now new 6, the version given by Australia, Norway and Hungary. Spain, please.
Presidente, la verdad es que consideramos que este párrafo es mucho más completo que el anterior y garantiza exactamente lo que esta delegación dijo el año pasado. En ese sentido, nos gustaría que se cambiara el antiguo párrafo por este, que consideramos que es mucho más completo y va en línea con otra intervención que haremos posteriormente. Gracias.
So Spain supports this version. No objections from anyone? I don't see any. Okay, so we can accept it on both paragraphs A and B, yes? Okay, thank you. Next. C also. And D. Thank you. Number 7, new. There is no changes. Proposal of China and Zimbabwe. I cannot see any objections. Choice. Sorry. So there is some contradictions between the text proposed by China and Zimbabwe and the remained part of that. Australia.
Could we just please have some clarification on the meaning of the China-Zimbabwe amendment within 2021? Is that by 2021? We're just not sure of the meaning.
China, can you give clarification for 2021? This is the time period you propose to.
Thank you, Chair. Like I said earlier in my comment, that the restoration, rehabilitation, everything, it takes time. It's not something that you can really just hasten. So we suggested that the 2021 might be a more realistic timing for it, time frame. Thank you.
Please, Rapporteur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In which case, perhaps we could replace within by the end of 2021, if that is the meaning.
China, is it acceptable?
We have no problem.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair. So now we have to clarify. So we leave the version of China and Zimbabwe with the proposal to delete the text which is noted by the black letters. So we remain only the blue version. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to support the amendment proposed by China and Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Rapporteur, give us the last version of this text.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as I understand it, the China-Zimbabwe are now supported by Brazil. New paragraph 8 would read, also requests the State Party implement fully its already declared 6-year plan and complete all rehabilitation works by the end of 2021 and report to the World Heritage Committee. I just might note that we're considering 2 paragraphs in one a little bit here. Because Australia and Norway and Hungary have proposed to combine 2 paragraphs. The very bottom of this paragraph, as proposed by Norway and Hungary and Australia, is actually the former paragraph 11, which is proposed for deletion by the other amendment.
Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Actually, now the rapporteur has said much of what I wanted to say, but what I was about to suggest is that perhaps we could divide this into 2 paragraphs so that we could have the China, Zimbabwe, Brazil proposal, and then where we see the yellow and the 2 slashes, that could become another paragraph, so that we can move on to debate later on that one, because that's the heart of the matter here. Are we going to inscribe this on the danger list or not? And in my view, the suggestion made by China, Zimbabwe, Brazil, I don't see it as a contradiction with our amendment to indeed inscribe this property on the list. So this is my proposal to divide this into 2 paragraphs. Thank you.
Thank you. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We're just wondering with paragraph 8, we have no objections to it necessarily, but we think it's a very tight time frame for the state party to be able to complete all rehabilitation works. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope. So, what is the decision? We approve the version of proposed by China, Zimbabwe, and Brazil. Or can we leave it if Australia and Hungary don't see any contradictions? Okay, thank you very much. Next. Next, please.
Thank you. So the next paragraph in question would read, also considers the potential and the certain threats of the outstanding universal value of the property, notably the threats to authenticity through inappropriate reconstruction and conservation methods are so considerable, and decides, therefore, in conformity with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines, to inscribe Kathmandu Valley, Nepal on the list of World Heritage in Danger. So we have two alternatives here. One is to keep that paragraph as amended, or to be deleted as also proposed by the China and others amendment. Thank you.
Please, you're welcome for comments. As far as I see, we have certain split of the proposals. Until now, the delegations which had floor, the majority of them supported the idea of non-inscription, less for the inscription. May I have the opinion of the others who did not give any response to that, to find some consensus? Kuwait, please.
Just to be clear, our position is to enlist it in the danger list, just to clarify. After what we heard from the advisory board for the second time, I think that's our decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Some other opinions? Bahrain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will also support the amendment proposed by Australia. Thank you.
Guatemala, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Tenemos ante nosotros un tema complicado, muy difícil, considerando las circunstancias. Hemos visto el detallado informe, hemos escuchado al Estado parte, hemos escuchado opiniones diversas. Guatemala, por su parte, el año pasado apoyó darle más tiempo al Estado parte para continuar la implementación de las recomendaciones para la recuperación y la reconstrucción del sitio. Y en esta ocasión, pues vamos a mantener la misma opinión, ofreciéndoles un tiempo extra, aplazando la decisión para que sea discutida en la próxima reunión del comité. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Cuba.
Gracias, señor presidente. Realmente este es un tema que hemos analizado en el comité en varias ocasiones y pudiéramos decir que técnicamente, sin duda, es un sitio en peligro y que las necesidades rebasan prácticamente las posibilidades del Estado parte. No obstante, respetamos mucho el esfuerzo y el encomiable compromiso del Estado porque se le dé un tiempo más y, por lo tanto, abogamos por apoyar la propuesta realizada por China y otros miembros del comité. Gracias.
Thank you very much. So, we have to have decision. I don't see the reason for voting here. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. When Tanzania first intervened, we had wanted to hear from the state party and to see and to hear from them what is their thinking. We have heard from the state party that they are committed to continue doing some work. Tanzania would want to suggest that let's give them more time let's request the active monitoring mission be invited so that from the report of the acting monitoring mission, the committee could then access and see how is the situation. So Tanzania delegation would go with those who wanted to not to put the site on danger list. Thank you.
Kyrgyzia.
Thank you, Chair. Kyrgyzstan understands both positions and recognizes that a danger list should be a tool for safeguarding the property, but at the same time would take into account the intervention by China, saying that perception of danger listing may be seen, may have actually more adverse effects than positive effects. Taking all these things into consideration, we think that putting this property in the danger list now, at this moment when the rehabilitation process is underway, may give a wrong signal to the local communities, given the perceptions, and that's why we would encourage for non-inscription. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, as far as I can see, there is no certain consensus on this matter. I think that either we have to propose to postpone the decision on this matter. Hungary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, my delegation's opinion is very clear from the screen, but what we wanted to point out is that actually the operational guidelines, paragraph 23, it says that our decisions have to be made on scientific and objective considerations. And I just want to say to all of the committee that after having heard the explanations given by the advisory bodies, and after having heard and we have been hearing this year after year after year. And as it was acknowledged, if we postpone this one more year, we're going to be back at square one next year, and it's going to become really a standing item on the agenda. So this is why we stand by the amendments that we have co-sponsored with others to inscribe this property here at this session. We understand the perceptions surrounding the danger listing, but as we have explained, we see it more as a tool of the convention. And we really think we have to give a lot of consideration what was said by the state party, but also what has been said by ICOMOS and ICOM and the Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Indonesia. No, sorry, I saw Indonesia.
Thank you, Chair. Considering on the explication of the state party of Nepal, Indonesia would like to propose to give more time to Nepal, and therefore we agree to the proposals of the China, Zimbabwe, Brazil, etc.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a suggestion for my dear colleagues. How about we comes in the middle, saying, it will not be listed in the draft decision, it's not to be listed in this year, but if the state party have not met and not received the mission, it will be listed next year. That's some middle.
Norway, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Norway wishes to concur with what was expressed by the distinguished colleague from Hungary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understood from the words of the Hungarian delegation that if they will give some time, we will also return to the matter again to this once more, so to discuss this matter. As far as I understand, the Chinese delegation and Zimbabwe clearly underlined in their proposal that the limit of time is 2021. So I consider that if we are giving some time to them, we have returned to this matter 21, if it is possible, or next year, like a last period of time. So without postponing it, giving a chance to postpone it in future. I think that this kind of consensus will ease the situation, and all of us will be clearly understanding, and excluding the state part, that they have only 1 year to do. The resolution must reflect that the Bureau members are voting for the postponing only for the last year and urge the state party to take the necessary measures. And in this case, it will be much easier for us to deal. We have to support state parties at the same time, but of course we have to take into account the opinion of ICOMOS and so on. So let us resolutely put it in the decision that this must be done for the last year. And this is the last chance. If you accept such kind of version, I would like some working group to clarify the wording, and we will return this matter to the next. But we will clearly know that the decision is postponed for the next year, if it is possible, if it is acceptable by honorable delegates. Angola, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec vous. Donc, on leur donne une chance d'1 année.
Bosnia, please.
We support your proposal to give the last year and to draft a new decision based on this.
Azerbaijan.
Mr. Chair, Azerbaijan also supports this proposal, which can be a kind of compromise, and maybe we'll find the consensus in the committee. Thank you.
Cuba, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Creo que es una solución negociada, pero que puede ser clara, de dar un ultimátum 1 año más. Y creo que de todas formas, en algunas ocasiones se ha hecho referencia a que inscribirlo en la lista como que soluciona el problema. Realmente todos los años creo que vamos a tener que seguir por un buen tiempo analizando el estado de conservación, esté en la lista del patrimonio en peligro o no. Gracias.
Thank you. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania supports the Chair's position.
Thank you. Tunisia, please.
Monsieur le Président, la Tunisie soutient votre proposition.
Thank you. Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. We hear your proposal to try and find a constructive pathway through this, but I think the challenge that we would face in going down that path, which we are open to exploring, is that next year the composition of this committee will be entirely different. And I don't see how it's possible for us to make a decision here that is binding on the committee next year. So I think we need to approach this with a great sense of caution, and I do need to say that we do still hold the view that the way this is constructed is the most appropriate path for this committee to take in the dire circumstances facing the Kathmandu Valley.
Thank you. Kyrgyzstan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We support your proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Hungary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, of course, we are also not willing to go against what the majority of the room wants, but concurring with much of what was said by my colleague from Australia, we also believe that since the composition of the committee is going to be different, we have to be very cautious, and we also wanted to point out that the previous decisions, which were actually always putting this item back on our agenda for the subsequent year, they were always implied as that's the last year. So we're basically doing the same thing again. We're just adding 1 more year, and we say this is the final year, but then we will probably add another year. But of course, we are very open to approach this in a constructive way, to find a solution that's ultimately good for the site, that helps the conservation of the World Heritage Site, because this is why we're all here, and which will also enable the committee to take a responsible decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do understand the rationale of what have been said by delegation of Australia, but I think we need to remind ourselves, and we are stepping into a very important issue of the consistency of decisions taken by the committee. So we need to realize and understand that the previous decisions of the committee should be respected by the subsequent committee members, regardless the change of the composition of the committee. But the very serious issue, which I think should be applicable to many cases here, the consistency of the decisions of the committee. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I also, Spain, sorry.
Sí, gracias, presidente. Hemos estado muy atentos a este debate que nos interesa especialmente. Katmandú es un sitio que conocemos, sabemos perfectamente el esfuerzo que está haciendo el país en todo este ejercicio de restauración, pero también somos conscientes de que la lista en peligro se está viendo en este comité como si fuera un instrumento peyorativo, es decir, casi como un instrumento en contra del Estado, cuando precisamente es lo contrario, es el mejor instrumento para ayudar a un Estado en esos momentos en los que se producen precisamente catástrofes como esta, ¿no? Y así creemos que lo debería de entender el Estado y cualquier Estado que nos podemos ver sometidos a situaciones de catástrofe, conflictos bélicos o lo que sea de cualquier índole. Por eso sí que nos gustaría que el Estado lo viese de esta manera, ¿no? Y que quizás es un esfuerzo que debemos de hacer, la UNESCO y los Estados, dentro de nuestros países, en entender que la lista en peligro es lo que precisamente ha dicho el órgano consultivo. Lo que permite es establecer una hoja de ruta y unas medidas correctivas con el propio Estado que pueden acompañar y favorecer que en un momento dado ese bien pueda estar tal como estaba cuando se inscribió. En cualquier caso, nuestro país se unirá al consenso, a lo que decidan todos los Estados, pero realmente consideramos que la mejor postura sería la que ha propuesto Hungría. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, we support your suggestion. Secondly, I think it is. We also wish to echo what Azerbaijan ambassador has just mentioned. I think consistency is important. I think, thirdly, it is the desire of the state party concerned that they do not wish to be enlisted in endangering property in danger. I mentioned in my earlier remark that the cultural difference is an issue. Endangered listing is not really perceived in many countries as a helping hand. Therefore, I think we try to reach a balance, try to also reach a compromise might be the best solution. Thank you.
Brazil, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would also like to support your suggestion, and I would like to pose a question to maybe the advisory bodies about the resources and what are the resources, financial resources and capacity building resources that ICOMOS or maybe even this committee could help the country with if the country is if the site is on the danger list. That ICOMOS and IUCN has not provided so far. So what is the added value in terms of assistance by the advisory bodies to the country if the site is inscribed on the list in danger, and why if there are resources and possibilities of helping the country with capacity building, why we can only do that if the site is on the list in danger. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this question. I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Rossler for clarification.
Thank you very much, dear committee members. This committee has already taken a decision at 40Com 7, which reads, takes note of its discussions under agenda items 7A and B, and requests the Centre in consultation with the advisory bodies and states parties to promote a better understanding of the implications and benefits of properties being inscribed on the list of World Heritage in Danger, and to develop appropriate information material in this regard with a view to overcome the negative perceptions of the list of World Heritage in Danger. And this information material should highlight the importance of the protection of the outstanding universal value. And I think you had at this committee already debates for the removal of 2 sites from the danger list, which benefited from danger listing, and in many cases, sites on the danger list get considerably more support also from other international organizations and from funding agencies. You see in the case of Nepal in your document on the English page 148 what funding flows in, but danger listing also is a means to get more funding from other agencies and donors. So this is what I would like to add, and I think following what the delegate of Brazil and many others, China, has said on the perception of the danger list, we need to work very closely together to overcome this perception, because that was not the intention of the founding fathers and mothers of the convention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hikamos, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the Honourable Delegate from Brazil for her question and the Director of the World Heritage Centre for her advice. In addition, the way in which paragraphs 183 and 184 of the operational guidelines work is that in danger listing sets up a structured framework and a roadmap through 2 devices. One is a statement which is brought back to the committee about the desired state of conservation for removal of the property from the list in danger. So it is very clear in terms of the difficulties we're having now about is it adequate or not. It's very clear what adequate would mean. In addition to that, the second tool is the corrective measures. In other words, the program through which the state party will proceed in order to achieve that desired state. At a practical level, the in danger listing also affords the property priority. Priority in terms of capacity building of the like that is done by organisations like ICROM and ICOMOS, and as the Director has highlighted, priority within the minds of the international community, particularly the benefactor agencies, because this becomes a more important property and project to fund. And as we have seen during this committee session, that can have great success for even very challenging properties such as the saltpeter mines in Humberston and Santa Laura in Chile. Finally, I would say that given the 4-year history of this property with the committee, there is actually right now a huge opportunity to change the trajectory and the perception of in danger listing using this property. And if the message that is sent by the state party back to the people of Nepal is that in danger listing has been undertaken as an expression of support, that could be part of the very process that the Director has outlined with regard to the decision of this committee at its 40th session. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So, as far we come to the some understanding of the situation, I would like to note that I support the idea which was expressed concerning the thoughts of the Australian delegation of the implementation of the decision taken by the previous committee. First of all, we have the same World Heritage Center, we have international organizations, ICOMOS, ICROM, IUCN, who are responsible for implementation of the and providing the fulfillment of the matters agreed by the committee. Secondly, the previous decisions of the committee are not less important for the implementation than those which will be taken by the next team. So I consider that if we will agree that we are giving the last year as proposed by most of the delegations, and next year, if the necessary documentations and proofs will not be provided, then this matter will be not already discussed and it must be inscribed in the danger list. I think that this solution will permit for the state to understand what is the challenge that is coming in front, and at the same time to put committee on strong position that they urge the implementations of the decisions they did and urge the state party to take necessary measures. This is my proposal. For that, I would like to propose that we have some working group for work out drafting the wording which will ensure the ideas which you expressed here during discussion in the list, and after that we will return to this matter at the end of the day today. The consistency of the group, I propose maybe China, Australia, Hungary, Norway, China, and Kuwait. Okay, 5 members. Thank you very much, and we ask you to... Norway? You want the floor?
Sorry for taking the floor, Chair. Just very quickly, the mandate of the working group should be clarified so that we're sure we're not preempting any of the outcomes. We need to be able to continue to discuss in the working group also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As you have already adopted the first paragraph, so the mandate would be for the group to look at the last paragraphs and to come up with a wording which reflects the spirit of the discussions. And Mr. Chair, I thought that Zimbabwe wished also to be part of the group. Thank you.
Zimbabwe, you want the floor? Please.
Thank you, Chair. We are requesting to be in the group that is going to...
Okay, thank you. So we enlist you in the group. Thank you very much for understanding and for such approach. But, dear friends, we had 1 hour and a half discussing this matter, and next we have another 8 items to be discussed. So please, let's follow a little bit quicker. Okay, thank you very much. So the working group will provide it at the end of the working day today, at 5 o'clock, the last. Thank you. Now we proceed to the next item. For the next property to be discussed, I would like to give the floor to the delegation of Azerbaijan, which requests the state of conservation report on Fort and Shalimar Gardens in Lahore to be open for discussion, to present the committee the reason why it made this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, my delegation would like to thank the ICOMOS for their report, and their work has been done, and the communication with the state party. I think the committee knows this case for many years that we are discussing this issue, and I believe this is another bright example of how the committee, and we need to find the compromise between the sustainable development, the social, environmental, and the elements, and the preservation of the site. But before embarking on this exercise about finding this balance, I would like to give you a background about the city. Lahore is a 12 million population, has 12 million population. This is one of the largest cities. And this Orange Metro line was conceived in 2005, but the execution started in 2015 due to cautious approach of the government to avoid any negative impacts on the heritage of the historic city of Lahore. The Orange Metro line is estimated to carry daily on 3 million passengers in the first year of operation, and it is expected to increase. It navigates and traverses through the poorest localities. Its pro-poor orientation, coupled with the correlation between subsidized urban transport and poverty reduction, and makes this project as a necessity. So I would like to repeat that this is not for pleasure, this project, it is a necessity. It is also important to highlight the eco-friendly nature of this project, as it will decrease carbon emission by decreasing congestions on the roads in the vicinity of the park. The energy-efficient nature of this project will contribute to actual decrease of the pollution. The state party did its best to protect the property and its integrity, and a special curve has been given to the train track by creating a maximum possible distance, 141 meters from the main entrance of the Shalimar Gardens. For that, the government acquired the property, and there was some dislocation of large number of people. Moreover, the state party undertook 9 assessment studies. According to visual impact assessment conducted by the international renowned company, the authenticity, visual integrity, and outstanding universal value of the property are not significantly impacted by the metro construction. In 2018, reactive monitoring mission took place in April. During 6 days of the visit, reactive monitoring mission has given a number of recommendations, some of which have already been implemented by the state party. The others are which underlined and reflected in the draft decision, including realigning existing roads, redirecting traffic, construction of glass curtains to mitigate the visual impact, creation of pedestrian area around the site, and many others. These steps involve acquisition of land and houses to create open space around the property, building new and additional motorways, as well as pedestrian roads. These proposed measures involve the displacement of large number of people residing in the neighborhood surrounding the property, which entails a significant social and financial cost for the state party. All these actions require detailed technical studies, hiring of consultants, and adequate social measures for which appropriate time and financial resources are essential. In that sense, we believe that the committee should take due account of efforts of the state party in ensuring the compliance with the World Heritage Convention guidelines, and therefore seeks to play a constructive and facilitating role in this regard. Reference to the possible inscription of this property on the list of World Heritage in Danger in the 44th session of this committee, in our view, is presumptuous and implies failure on the part of the state party in implementing the mission's recommendations. With this in mind, the delegation of Azerbaijan tabled amendments to the draft decision, and we had the consultations with the committee members, namely with the delegation of Australia, to find a consensus on this matter. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite Mr. Feng Jing, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. As this distinguished delegate of Azerbaijan has mentioned, that the main issue facing us relating to the conservation of the property is the construction of the metro line project. It is understandable that the Orange Line metro project was motivated by the need for improved public infrastructure and reduce environment impacts of vehicle traffic. But as shown in previous analysis and conclusions by the World Heritage Center, ICOMOS and ICROM, there has been a lack in complying with the required procedure and especially in considering all impacts of the project on the property. The state party did not give due consideration to alternative options before decisions were taken, despite the provisions of paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines. Yes, as the ambassador mentioned, the April 2018 Joint World Heritage Center ICOMOS Reactor Monitoring Mission has confirmed also the negative impacts of the project on attributes relating to the artistic, aesthetic accomplishment of the 16th, 17th centuries of this property. But so far, the efforts made by the state party has not been confirmed at the time of preparing the working document. On 27th of May, just recently, the state party provided additional information which is being reviewed by ICOMOS. The efforts made by the state party to address some of the committee's requirements with regard to the conservation of the property and the directions provided by the Supreme Court of Pakistan are appreciated. These are demonstrated by the creation of the special committee of experts which oversee the metro line project and also undertook the planting of trees which may screen the view of the project from the property and the test operations to evaluate vibration levels. However, most importantly, the committee may wish to request the state party the full implementation of the recommendations of the 2018 mission to mitigate to the maximum extent the adverse effects of the project on the OUV of the property. It should also be recalled that the state party has been requested for years to consider the boundary revision and creation of the buffer zones for the Shalimar Garden component of the site, and in particular, any of these actions to create open space around the property involves the displacement of people residing in the neighbor area of the property as a result of the acquisition of land and houses. But this, I think, this also we need some further information. On a positive note, it is acknowledged that the state party conducted a number of conservation measures within the property. It is requested to report on the effectiveness of the roof water-proofing systems and also new and old drainage systems of runoff water in the open courtyard and also in the historical buildings of the Lahore Fort, and particularly those corresponding to the pictorial wall sections. I think some of you may see that during the side event of the Aga Khan Trust for Culture. The committee, in this context, the committee may wish to reiterate requests that the state party submit detailed information on the elements mentioned, notably for the proposing of the mitigation measures to the World Heritage Center for review by the advisory bodies in the absence of significant progress for the implementation of the measures recommended by the mission and also by previous sessions of the committee. For that reason, we propose the potential danger listing with a view in the absence of substantial progress. So after the drafting, as mentioned earlier, after drafting the working document, the state party provided additional information on 27th of May, and we will get this information being reviewed by ICOMOS. The draft decision appears on document 43-7B72 on pages 157 of the English version and 162 of the French version. So, Mr. Chair, with your permission, ICOMOS will provide further comments on this property. Thank you.
Please, thank you, and note the reglement, please.
Thank you, Chair. As already mentioned, the 2018 Reactive Monitoring Mission made a series of recommendations to mitigate the impact of the elevated orange metro line on the property. There were 31 recommendations in all, of which 6 are reflected in the draft decision in front of you. These involve directing traffic away from the Shalimar Gardens on the side of Grand Trunk Road, creating a noise-sensitive zone around other sides of the gardens, developing a soundproof tube between 2 stations on the new metro line where it overlooks the gardens, and revising the buffer zone to include the original line of the Grand Trunk Road. As you've also heard, after the State of Conservation report was issued, we received a response from the State Party to these recommendations. In this response, the State Party gave its commitment to implement the remaining recommendations, and we welcome that commitment. Nevertheless, some of the recommendations require substantial work, particularly in relation to the amendments to the Trunk Road and the Metro line. The State Party have already considered hiring a consultant to undertake a comprehensive survey and study of the road possibilities and of the Metro project. From discussions with the State Party during this committee meeting, we are pleased to say that they have agreed to invite an advisory mission to offer specialised advice on the approach to these projects, and particularly to explore the implications and options for consideration. The proposed road project will impact on developed land, and it's clearly of the utmost importance that the options considered clearly take into consideration the impact, both positive and negative, on local communities. With the regards to the buffer zone, I'm pleased to say that this matter has been clarified with the State Party so that it is now clear that an amendment to the buffer zone does not necessitate the purchase of land or the clearing of houses and other buildings, but rather the development of appropriate protection and management measures. We welcome the opportunity for further dialogue with the State Party in progressing the implementation of the committee decisions, but would like to request clarification from the State Party on the proposed advisory missions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank the Advisory Board and the World Heritage Center and also the State Party for the continuous collaboration. This is the same topic we discussed last year. I don't want to repeat myself regarding the importance for public transportation. This is the national need. The problem with Shalimar Garden, and unfortunately it was in Lahore. It's the state with the 12 million. That's a fact. This site is a very congested place. Public transportation is a must. And I should remind my colleagues, the place of the metro, it was not done just like that. It's also based on the traffic studies. For transportation, there has always been traffic studies before any construction of any project, also to take into account the place, the safety, and the optimization of the people. As we see from the picture, it's a very condensed place. We see progress from State Party, so we think, again, we support what was said and the draft amendment submitted by Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kyrgyzia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In order not to take a lot of time, I would like just say that we support the amendments done by Azerbaijan because we agree that all these details in this draft decision are still in the report of the advisory body and the World Heritage Center. And we think they will be taken into account. And concerning the last paragraph, I think we agreed in the meetings before that we do not threaten with the possibility of endangered listing, and therefore I think we should be consistent with our previous decisions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. We feel that the protection of World Heritage is the joint responsibility of World Heritage Center and the member states. At the same time, however, the World Heritage Center should not be oblivious to the requirements of state parties to undertake projects aimed at uplifting the quality of life of its people. Orange Metro project, which has been envisaged to meet the transportation requirements of Lahore City, is one such project. Pakistan has conducted numerous assessment studies prior to the execution of the project, which indicate no significant or unmitigatable impacts on the OEV of the property. We have been informed that the state party is committed to implementing all practical recommendations of the reactive monitoring mission and is actively engaging with World Heritage Center, and that has been also approved by acknowledged by World Heritage Center and the advisory body. In our view, we should not burden the state party to implement in a hurry some of the reactive monitoring mission recommendations, which have significant social and thus technical implications, such as shifting the 250 years old road and constructing a new motorway in the area, which is thickly inhabited by people since ages. I think it is important to give opportunity to the state party of Pakistan to explain its position and respond to questions raised in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would like, first of all, to associate myself to the statement made by the distinguished delegate of Azerbaijan, especially when he made reference to the challenge posed to many countries in addressing sustainable development and preservation of sites in the World Heritage List. This is a specific case where we are discussing one of the areas of the world with very high population density, which has very significant challenges to overcome. The report, we are very grateful to the advisory bodies for their reports. I believe that the report we are analyzing now is the one released on June 2018, which highlights a number of recommendations, some of which involve the acquisition of land and houses to create open space around the property, building new and additional motorways, and a pedestrian road along all sides of the property. We understand that the state party is, on the other hand, fully committed to ensuring compliance with the recommendations by the monitoring mission. But perhaps they will need more time to accomplish the complex tasks that are demanded, which involve the displacement of a large number of people with significant administrative, social and financial costs to the state party. We therefore believe that some more time should be given to the country so that the authorities have the opportunity to be able to fully comply with the significant demands posed to the state party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson and our gracious host. Mr. Chairperson, if you go through the state of conservation for the fort and the Shalimar in Lahore Garden, you find that the property faces many conservation challenges. These include development pressure, particularly infrastructure development, such as the railway line nearby the property, among others. However, no enough studies which have been done to inform impacts of the proposed projects, despite several requests that have been made. Mr. Chairperson, the proposal by the state party to suggest some changes supported by Azerbaijan, particularly in the last paragraph, is backed by the thought that the committee intends to put this property in the danger list in the next session. Mr. Chairperson, therefore, this delegation supports the amendment made and is convinced that the state party will implement the recommendations made by the reactive monitoring mission in 2018. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord remercier le Centre du patrimoine ICOMOS pour le rapport qui nous permet d'avancer dans la connaissance et dans le traitement de ce dossier que ce comité connaît assez bien et qui condense des points qui ont été hier largement discutés sur la difficile quadrature du cercle entre la question du développement durable, la question de la protection des sites classés et aussi la question de la gestion au jour le jour de la question démographique et du développement économique de nos villes. Ce rapport reconnaît lui-même les progrès qui ont été faits de la part de l'État partie, les différentes structures nationales ou locales. Nous soulignons avec satisfaction la décision prise par la Cour suprême dans cette direction et je crois que dans l'ensemble, il y a une reconnaissance d'une direction positive qui a été jusque-là suivie. C'est pour cela que la Tunisie soutient le projet d'amendement qui permet d'avancer dans cette direction et de laisser au comité qui vient le soin de décider au vu de l'évolution sur le terrain.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mr. Chair, Indonesia would like to commend praise to the advisory body on its comprehensive report of the state of conservation of the fort and Shalimar Gardens. We take note and acknowledge efforts taken by the state party to address the committee's recommendation on preserving the conservation of that garden. We understand that there are necessary steps. Hence, we trust that it would be in line with the efforts of preserving the property to be in its required state of conservation. Despite of all efforts made by the state party, the report of the 2018 Reactive Monitoring Mission urges the state party to implement many recommendations, especially mentioned in point 7, item A to F, among other, divert the vehicular traffic away, combine the construction of the additional motorway, divert vehicular traffic on all other sides of the Shalimar Gardens. To be able to implement all those recommendations, Indonesia believes that the state party requires considerable length of time and extensive resources. With this regard, Indonesia wishes the committee to give the state party an extension to accomplish all the recommendations. Indonesia also requests the state party to engage dialogue and work closely with World Heritage Center and advisory body in the implementation of the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much. Now, Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. As our distinguished colleague from Azerbaijan has already mentioned, we have reached a consensus on the amendments proposed by ourselves and by our colleagues on the committee. The essence of our amendments is that we consider that the State Party needs to provide to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies the environmental impact assessment, including visual impact assessment and vibration analysis that's already been completed by the State Party and mentioned by a number of other of our committee colleagues. We appreciate that the State Party would like an independent consultant to undertake a feasibility study for different mitigation options for reducing the impacts to the property from the Orange Metro line. However, we need to be assured that this is undertaken in dialogue with the advisory bodies and in consideration of the methods and outcomes of the studies already completed. Such a dialogue and review will provide an appropriate basis for consideration of the best options for measures for mitigation of any impacts to OUV through the Orange Metro line. And our proposed amendments for paragraphs 4 and 7 of the draft decision take this into account. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, please.
We believe that in future work of this State Party and advisory body is possible to reach harmonization and integration of this 10th century of the area, because with the moving, what is mentioned by Indonesia, all this traffic, etc., and with additional design along the Orange Line is possible to a more harmonized area, because taking consideration that the city is a living organism body through century, and every century should add something needed for these people who are living there. And we support the amendment done by Azerbaijan.
Thank you. And Cuba.
Gracias, señor presidente. En la pasada sesión del comité, Cuba coauspició una enmienda al proyecto original de decisión, el cual fue finalmente aprobado y que es la base de lo que hoy estamos analizando. Nos sentimos satisfechos del hecho de que ese acuerdo pues, ha propiciado esa comunicación y resultados concretos con relación al análisis de este sitio. En concreto, consideramos que la propuesta que se nos propone por Azerbaiyán pues es muy objetiva en términos de reconocer los avances que se han hecho y las necesidades, y a la vez reafirmamos un punto en el cual la distinguida delegación de Australia ha hecho hincapié, que es la necesidad de seguir reforzando esa comunicación con los órganos consultivos y la Secretaría. Muchas gracias.
Norway, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving Norway the floor. I will be very brief, just to announce the Norwegian support to the amendment made by Australia. However, we find the amendment made by Azerbaijan, China, etc., to the last part of the original para 7 also relevant. We would like to keep the request to the State Party to submit to the World Heritage Center for review by the advisory bodies detailed project studies related to future work prior to, and that is essential, prior to the commencement of these works, in line with the para 172 of the operational guidelines. Therefore, we would like to suggest to merge this last part of that amendment with the replacement text made by Australia to the original para 7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Uganda.
Mr. Chairman, we have a very brief reaction to this. Uganda delegation is in unison with the other delegations in giving chance to the concerned State Party time to respond to the recommendations by the reactive monitoring mission. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor to the state party, Pakistan, please, 2 minutes.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Chairperson, Excellencies, first of all, let me thank the government of Azerbaijan for the excellent arrangements for this important session. Since our arrival, we have enjoyed the warm hospitality of Azeri people in the beautiful city of Baku. At the outset, I would like to reaffirm Pakistan's unwavering commitment to protection and conservation of our heritage. The new government in Pakistan is fully committed to this cause. My presence here as the Minister of Tourism demonstrates this political commitment. We would like to thank the members of WHC for their understanding and support, as well as the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies for their guidance and engagement. Mr. Chairperson, we had welcomed the reactive monitoring mission, which visited Lahore in April 2018. We value their recommendations, which were given in the spirit of helping Pakistan for better preservation of the World Heritage property. We have carried out a detailed examination of RMM's recommendations and stand committed to implement them in a manner that conforms to our international obligations and domestic socio-economic responsibilities. We have already implemented some of the recommendations, while for the remaining ones, we are engaging an international consultant, for which the process has already been started. We pledge to keep engaging the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center in the process. The committee is already aware that the Supreme Court of Pakistan has also formed a special committee of experts to independently monitor the conservation of the site in relation with the Orange Line project. An advisory committee on the heritage has also been formed by our central government to oversee the preservation of all heritage sites. I may draw the attention of the committee that this particular property is composed of two distinct monuments, Shalimar Gardens and the Lahore Fort, located at two different places in the city. Recently, the conservation report of the Lahore Fort has been acknowledged and appreciated by UNESCO. This demonstrates our commitment to meet our international obligations with regard to the conservation of our World Heritage properties. I would therefore like to assure the August Committee about our sincerity and commitment to remain engaged with the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies to ensure that OUV of the property is not compromised in any manner whatsoever. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Rapporteur, I would like to apply to Rapporteur because we have two proposals, and as far as I understand, there is a certain consensus between the parties. So may we have the draft decision on the screen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we're rapporteurs trying very hard to keep up with these draft decisions. So what we have so far is two proposals for amendments, one from Australia and one from a group of countries, Azerbaijan, China, Kuwait, St. Kitts and Nevis, Tunisia and the Republic of Tanzania. And I understand that Norway has also proposed a minor amendment which is combining two of those amendments, but we'll just get to that as we read through the decision. And I do understand there's some consensus there which has maybe not been reflected in this decision yet, but we'll start and see how we go. So paragraphs 1 and 2 remain unamended. Paragraph 3, the group of countries has proposed for deletion in its entirety. Former paragraph 4, which is a new paragraph 3, has been amended or proposed for amendment by Australia, and this would read, acknowledges the efforts made by the state party to address some of the committee's requirements with regard to the conservation of the property and the directions provided by the Supreme Court of Pakistan, in particular in relation to the construction and operation of the OLM project, such as the planting of trees which may screen the view of the OLM from the property and the test operations to evaluate vibration levels, and requests that the method and outcomes of all monitoring activities, including environmental impact assessment, heritage impact assessment, including a visual impact assessment, and the vibration analysis previously undertaken by the state party, be communicated to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies. Then moving along, the former paragraph 5, the group of countries proposes for amendment, would read, notes the creation of the Special Committee of Experts and Technical Committee under orders of the Supreme Court, which oversee and monitor the Orange Line project, and further recommends that similar regulatory committees will, I think we can delete B. Oh no, sorry, will be set up, that's fine. Will be set up by the Director General of Archaeology for Orange Line related operations and future projects to enable informed decision-making processes in compliance with the provisions of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines. The former paragraph 6 is not proposed for amendment by either state party or delegates. Then things look a little confusing here. This is former paragraph 7, which has been proposed for amendment by both of these sets of amendments. Australia's proposal is for a paragraph which would read, urges the state party in dialogue with the advisory bodies to discuss the recommendations of the 2018 reactive monitoring mission concerning the mitigation of the OLM's impact on the OUV of the property in light of the outcomes of the visual impact assessment and the vibration analysis undertaken by the state party as a basis for a feasibility study of mitigation options. So that's the first proposal by Australia. And then there's an alternative to that proposed by the group of countries, which I understand there may have been some agreement on this one. But that reads, takes note of the implementation of some of the recommendations formulated by the 2018 reactive monitoring mission and further notes that for the remaining recommendations, the state party is in the process of hiring reputed consultants to undertake detailed feasibility studies. Further actions thereof will be taken into consultation with the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies after the consultants' findings become available. And then there is a series of dot points which are proposed for deletion by everybody. But there's a small amount of text at the bottom which would carry on from the top, which then would continue on and further requests the state party, in line with paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines, to submit in relation to future projects detailed project studies to the World Heritage Centre for review by the advisory bodies prior to the commencement of these works, which should only proceed once positive feedback has been received. And I understand that the distinguished delegate for Norway was wanting to include that paragraph, or that element of the paragraph also, to retain that. Then we move on to former paragraph 8, which is unamended. Former paragraph 9, also similarly the same. And then the final paragraph proposed for amendment by the group of countries, and that would read, finally requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Centre by 1 February 2020 an updated report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation of the above for examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 44th session in 2020, and it would finish there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So should we proceed for the approval of this draft in whole, or we have one item where we have one paragraph where we'll have some confusion? Let's go one by one. Number 1, clear. Number 2, clear. Number 3, no objections for taking away this paragraph? No objections. Thank you. New number 3. The version proposed by the Australia, can we approve it? We don't see any objections. Thank you very much. Number 4. We have some consensus. Thank you. Number 5 remains the same. Here we have the question. So what is the opinion? Azerbaijan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I have said in my initial introduction, we had the consultations with the members of the committee, and we agreed and we found the proposal made by the Australian delegation as reasonable, and we have agreed that we will take the Australian proposal as ours, yes, as a basis. Thank you.
No other opinions? Okay, Rapporteur, please make a clearance for us.
Thank you. I just would like to ask the committee, or just to confirm with Australia, whether we are just keeping the paragraph as proposed in your amendment, or we are also including the very end of that rather long paragraph which says, and further requests the state party, etc., as I understand was amended by the group of countries and proposed for inclusion by Norway, or are we agreeing just for the very start of that paragraph?
Indonesia.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Indonesia would like to look at the para 6. Could we see para 6? Yes. Now, this is rather long paragraph, and could we ask the reporter to, if we would like to divide into 2 paragraphs, is it possible? Yeah, thank you very much. I see she nodded. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the distinguished delegation from Indonesia. It's complicated, but what we are doing is trying to highlight the paragraph we're talking about, noting that there's still the question of the very end of this long paragraph also, but I'll just read that for the committee again. Urges the state party in dialogue with the advisory bodies to discuss the recommendations of the 2018 reactive monitoring mission concerning the mitigation of the OLM's impact on the OUV of the property in light of the outcomes of the visual impact assessment and the vibration analysis undertaken by the state party as a basis for a feasibility study of mitigation options. And I think Australia will clarify whether they are proposing to keep the very end of that rather long paragraph also.
Can we put dot after that? Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we would like to keep, if you can scroll down to it, it would make it a bit easier. Okay, so we're happy with the amendment as proposed by Azerbaijan and others to this paragraph, but we would like to keep the remainder of the paragraph.
Yes.
Fine. Please, can you make it Tunisia, please?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Tunisie se joint à l'Australie pour son vœu de maintenir la fin du paragraphe tel que proposé par la Norvège.
Thank you very much. So we're moving forward, and we accept paragraph of 6.
Thank you, as highlighted.
Thank you very much. Number 7, no changes. Number 8, no changes. Number 9. Do we agree on this version proposed by the group of countries? No objections?
Mr. Chair, just want to signal during the discussions that the ICOMOS asked a question relating to the advisory mission, and the state party also confirmed that. If that has been covered in the current decision, I think it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the last version, paragraph 9, approved. Thank you very much. Now we can move to another question. We are late of our schedule. Please note it. I don't want you to stay here for the night session. So, again, we have another item which was initiated by Azerbaijan concerned with the historical monument at Makli Tatta in Pakistan. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With the same logic that we have already pronounced in the draft decision on Shalimar Gardens, we propose deletion of the last phrase, which is, in our view, is a bit prejudgment to what has been done already by the state party, and I would like to appreciate the ICOMOS and ICROM work, and also the acknowledgement of the positive outcome of the investment and the preservation of efforts of the state party. So in the last paragraph, there is, in our view, a bit premature wording which says that it's recommended to the World Heritage Committee to consider this issue in an absence of substantial progress to possible inscription to the property on the list of World Heritage in danger. And I would like again to repeat that in our view it's a bit prejudgment, and we would like to delete the last phrase. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ICOMOS. No, Mr. Feng Jing, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, distinguished committee members. I think in response to the questions and comments made by the Honorable Ambassador of Azerbaijan, I think the State of Conservation working document in front of you, that the summary of conservation issues of the property is available in document 43-7B on pages 159 and 161 of the English version, and pages 164 and 166 of the French version. In the committee's previous deliberations, it was recognized that the property was in a generally critical state in terms of physical conservation and also with regard to the absence of an appropriate management structure. On that basis, the committee asked for a reactor monitoring mission in 2010. As requested by the committee also, a joint World Heritage Center ICOMOS reactor monitoring mission visited the property in January this year and commended a number of positive changes since the previous mission of 2016. These positive developments include the clearer demarcation of the site with boundary walls, the relocation of infrastructure, and establishment of a modern burial site, which contribute to the improvement of the property's general status and illustrate a serious commitment on the part of authorities to facilitate ongoing dialogue with local communities and formally recognize the living aspects and values of the site. Concerning the state of conservation, a number of monuments in need of stabilization was undergone some structural stabilization and interventions since 2016. Specific recommendations were also implemented for some of the most important monuments, such as the Mausoleum of Jam Nazaruddin and also Jamia Masjid. Furthermore, the management plan for the property requested by the committee since 2009 remains incomplete. The committee has requested a number of these actions over an extended period of time. The World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and ICROM would therefore recommend that the committee request the state party to implement all recommendations of the 2019 reactor monitoring mission and to inform the World Heritage Center of any major projects in line with paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines. In our view, in the absence of substantial progress, the committee may wish to consider, in the absence of substantial progress, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger at its 44th session in 2020. The draft decision 43-7B-73 can be found on page 161 of the English version and page 166 of the French version. Mr. Chairperson, with your permission, ICOMOS will provide further comments on this property. Thank you.
ICOMOS, you are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ICOMOS and ICROM recognise that the State Party has made progress with management and conservation of the property through relocation of some encroachments establishing a contemporary burial area outside the property, and control of site access and security. Overall monitoring and maintenance of the site has also improved, including monitoring of weather and monument damage. However, much still needs to be done to address considerable long-standing serious threats to the fabric of the property and other attributes of its outstanding universal value. The actions taken to protect and manage the property are not yet commensurate with the threats to OUV and have not yet delivered the outcomes sought by mission recommendations. The 2019 reactive monitoring mission observed that a number of important monuments remain in dire condition, and that some restoration works by third parties are not appropriate, and that documentation and facilities for the storage of displaced significant historic fabric need urgent attention. Mr. Chair and committee members, having regard to the suggestion from the honourable delegate from Azerbaijan that the recommendation before the committee is premature, I would highlight on behalf of ICOMOS and ICROM that the committee has requested over an extended period that important actions be taken to address the threats to the outstanding value of the property. In this regard, by extended period, I am referring to mission recommendations still unfulfilled from 2006, from 2010, from 2012, from 2016. These not completed actions include completion of the submission of the management plan, which has been repeatedly requested by the committee since 2007, emergency risk preparedness provisions, a framework for visitor management, improvements to the inventory and storage systems for displaced elements and remnant architectural surface decoration, submission of the minor boundary modification request, preparation of a regulatory plan for the buffer zone, conservation work on important monuments, and coordination of conservation activities in accordance with appropriate standards. In the view of ICOMOS and ICROM, the time has come and there needs to be a binding timeframe. However, notwithstanding the current threats to the outstanding universal value of the property, it is acknowledged that the state party is acting to achieve its conservation and should be offered a further opportunity to complete urgently the required tools and actions, particularly implementation of previous committee decisions and all of the recommendations of the 2019 mission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. As far as I understand, the new draft, it doesn't have any changes in the sense of the document. From the other side, we agree with the position of ICOMOS and the center itself. The proposal of Azerbaijan consists that we must not use the matter of the inscription of the World of Heritage in danger like a threatening vehicle to push the governments forward. And I think that there is no big difference within the approach between the previous matter and this one. So I would like to propose to put this draft decision on the screen, and we will proceed with the last item only. Yeah, voilà. So all the text remaining the same, please show us the last paragraph. So the proposal is to withdraw the words after 2020. If there is no serious objections from the committee members, can we approve the document in whole? I don't see any. Thank you very much. Oops, Norway. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a lovely site, and that deserves really good conservation. So Norway would like to point to the fact that there was a consensus yesterday that the list of the World Heritage in Danger, in fact, is a list for positive changes. Thank you.
Thank you. We accept this opinion, but we can't reflect it now in the draft decision. China, please.
Very simple. China supports the Azerbaijan amendment to the text. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there is a group of countries proposed such kind of proposal. Indonesia, please.
Indonesia also would like to support Azerbaijan's proposal. Thank you very much. Salam.
Thank you very much. Tanzania.
Chair, it has been a position of delegation of Tanzania, and we believe this is a common wisdom of honorable committee member that when there is a noticeable improvement of the property and clear engagement by the state party to implement the recommendation of the committee, and then to continue a dialogue, we still prefer to encourage rather than doing opposite. My delegation recommend the committee member to continue encourage the state party to complete the required tools of action, particularly the management plan, and to implement rather than other recommendation of 2019 mission. Chair, my delegation will echo our full support to the amendment proposed by the distinguished delegate of Azerbaijan.
Thank you very much. May I place the question like that? Are there any objections here or not? I don't see any, and I apply to you to approve the document in whole. Thank you very much. Approved. Now I would like to invite you, due to the necessity of our return to discussion of the previous matters as we agreed at the end of the morning session, may I ask Mr. Fen Jing and all of you to apply to the document where we have the list of adoption without discussion to finish with this matter for the next 5-10 minutes? No, you can do it now, please. List of Asia Pacific region for which the report are proposed for adoption without discussions. There are several properties, and we will have chance to finalize with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Ahmed. The following sites from the Asia-Pacific region, which are located on the World Heritage List, which are being inscribed on the World Heritage List, located in the Asia-Pacific region, those decisions will be adopted without discussion. Historical Center of Macau in China, the Great Wall in China, West Lake Cultural Landscape of Hangzhou in China, historical monuments and sites in Kaesong, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, group of monuments of Hampi, India, mountain railways of India, cultural landscape of Bali province, the Subak system as a manifestation of the Tunica Karana philosophy, Indonesia, Medan Imam, Isfahan, Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Sasani archaeological landscape of Fars region, Iran, Fujisan, secret place and the source of artistic inspiration in Japan, Vatpu and associated Asian settlements within the Champasak cultural landscape in Lao People's Democratic Republic, Great Burhan Kardung Mountain and its surrounding secret landscape in Mongolia, Lumbini, the birthplace of the Lord Buddha in Nepal, Baroque churches of the Philippines in the Philippines, Golden Temple of Dambulla in Sri Lanka, Historical Center of Ayutthaya in Thailand, Historical Center of Bukhara in Uzbekistan. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. As far as it was already listed in the preliminary agenda and the documents submitted to all committee members, I propose to approve the advised decision, to make it without any discussion. I don't see any objections. Any applies for words? Thank you very much. Approved.
Mr. Chairman, my delegation tabled an amendment to the draft decision on Samarkand, crossroads of cultures.
But we didn't come to it yet.
Sorry.
Now we're returning to the two items which remained open from the previous day.
This is not ready.
I know. We have two documents. Decision on Kenya Lake System, paragraph 7b.33. And we have drafting the document on the Sundarbans in Bangladesh, paragraph 7b3. I would like to inform honorable members of the committee that due to the fact that the drafting group worked out the decision, now the Secretariat and our staff is working on the translation of the draft proposed for Sundarbans. That's why we now discuss only Kenya Lake System to permit Secretariat to make the professional translation of the text from English to French. And now we are coming to Kenya Lake System, and then we'll go to Samarkand items before the lunch. If we will not reach the end of the discussion before that, then we will follow with Samarkand at the beginning, and we will discuss the matter of Sundarbans as soon as the translation will be ready, if you don't mind. Now, please, welcome. We have also, would like to have the regards proposed, where is the decision? We can put it on the screen. Yeah. Decision 7b33. Here it is. Prepared by the drafting group. Rapporteur, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The drafting group has proposed some amendments to paragraph 3. So 3A would read, to strengthen the protection of the areas between Lakes Nakuru and Elementaita to ensure that the 2011 boundaries of the property are clearly identified to enable the state party to deal with illegal developments, to develop and implement strict and clear regulations to prohibit developments in close proximity to fragile habitats and in the critical buffer zone of the property, including by integrating such provisions in the draft management plans. Paragraph 4 is unamended. Paragraph 5 would read, welcomes the progress of the State Party in addressing the ruling of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights through the development of a joint integrated management plan for the Lake Bogoria National Reserve ecosystem by the Ndora Welfare Council and the Baringo County Government, and urges the State Party to 1. Expedite the development of this overdue plan and benefit sharing arrangements. 2. Submit the final draft of the plan to the World Heritage Centre for review. And 3. Continue its efforts to implement the above ruling of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. And the rest of the decision remains unchanged. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. As far as I understand, during these days, there were certain discussions and consultations between the members of the committee, and the agreement have been achieved with the draft decision proposed just now to you. If there is no objections, can we proceed with the supporting of this kind of draft? ICOMOS, please.
It's not ICOMOS, it's the World Heritage Center, but
sorry,
we just wanted to make one suggestion, because you're referring to the ruling, but you have taken out the specification of which ruling. I suppose this commission has many rulings, so I think it's better to keep with the Endoroy's ruling so that it's clear which ruling is referred to. Thank you.
Okay. Rapporteur, please.
Thank you. We can add that into paragraph 5 at the end? Is that what you're proposing?
I think in the first sentence, so welcomes the progress of the state party in addressing the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and Doroy's ruling, so that it's clear which ruling we are referring to.
Thank you. I think we can accept such kind of addition. Thank you very much. I don't see any objections, so we consider the draft decision on 7B33 approved in whole. Thank you. We have time. Now we have to proceed to the next item. The delegation of Azerbaijan, which requested the state of conservation report on Samarkand, crossroad of cultures from Uzbekistan, to be open for discussion. And I would like to hear some explanations from their part, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The delegation of Azerbaijan would like to open this discussions on this item to give some clarification with regard to the report provided by the advisory body. First of all, we are thankful for the advisory body for the work, but we would like to highlight that no reactive monitoring mission has visited the site in the last years, and most of the paragraphs of the proposed text of the decision are based on the third-party information only, without any verification with the state party. The World Heritage Center State of Conservation report refers to the high-level reactive monitoring mission which visited another property in Uzbekistan, namely Shahrisabz. And the mission was also on a one-day trip visited Samarkand upon the request by the state party itself. So it is another evidence that the state party is willing and ready to work with the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies. We feel that it is very important that any conclusions to be included in the committee decision on this site, on the Samarkand, should be based on in-depth analysis of the situation on the ground and take into account its complexity. So our point is that with one-way visit that was done not specifically for this site, but cannot based our assumptions or evaluation, assessment of the situation. We would like to commend again the state party, its readiness and intention to invite reactive monitoring mission to this property in the coming months to clarify most of these issues. This mission's task will be very important, and its report will serve as a basis for this committee's further decisions. In this regard, it is this committee's responsibility to ensure that the upcoming mission will visit the site without any prejudgment. The state party also indicated on many occasions that it has informed the World Heritage Center about upcoming development projects from the very beginning, and on a high level delegation visited the UNESCO headquarters to discuss the locations of the sites and the future projects. Not all the facts presented in the State of Conservation report have been considered in the draft decision. The state party informed in the SOC report that no design proposal has been yet finalized and no construction activities started. Implementation will start only after the validation of projects and heritage impact assessment by the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS. In this regard, we feel that any statements about unwillingness of the state party to present the heritage impact assessment of the projects are not valid.
The proposed decision also requests the state party to present information on implementation of all the paragraphs, including the master plan and management plan of the property. We believe that it might be impossible for the state party to complete this task by February 1, 2020. That's why we are proposing alternatives to ask to prepare these documents by February 2020, or request the status of the implementation or the progress made so far in this regard. Given a considerable gap that needs to be filled in such short time, we feel that the proposed timelines to produce this series of plans, regulations, guidelines, manuals are not proportionate with the available resources and capacity, both in financial and human terms. Using this opportunity and the presence of the Honorable Vice Prime Minister of Uzbekistan, I would be also happy if, Mr. Chairman, you will give him the floor to clarify these issues for the committee. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will have it in count. So now Mr. Feng Jing, please, and ICOMOS Express. No, I think
Thank you,
that we
Mr.
have to
Chairman.
clarify, then we can.
The case in front of us, I think it's been an ongoing one since last December, where a discussion on the state of conservation of this property was not initially foreseen for the current committee session. Developments on site and also the looming threats to the property have prompted an early review by the committee. As distinguished Ambassador of Azerbaijan pointed out, ongoing dialogue between the State Party World Heritage Center and ICOMOS has been happening since last December, where the Secretariat requested the State Party to provide clarifications on the third-party information in line with paragraph 174 of the operational guidelines. Much of the information being shared with the State Party as a sort of third-party information. Regrettably, however, despite the committee's request of decision 39-7B-73, the State Party did not follow due process in notifying the committee and the World Heritage Center prior to make any decision that would be difficult to reverse regarding a major restoration or new construction which may affect the OUV of the property. This is in conformity with paragraph 172 of the operational guidelines. During the high-level mission to Uzbekistan of January 2016, the State Party indicated that 2 industrial sites had been cleared in the buffer zone to allow for the construction of a convention facility for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's International Summit in 2022, and made reference to the demolition of 2 other buildings within the property and intended for new constructions. However, no details on the demolitions have been submitted to the World Heritage Center so far, nor any documentation on the structures demolished or the sites cleared, any plans and drawings of the new constructions or any HIA, Heritage Impact Assessment, for the numerous interventions already completed, ongoing, or planned. The number of variety of major construction projects in the Samarkand city, both planned and ongoing, is significant, and many are progressing fast to meet the 2022 deadline for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's International Summit. The plan is to construct a variety of infrastructures and tourism facilities is a source of concern, especially the multifunctional project, the Samarkand City Tourist Zone, which involves the demolition and the redevelopment of a number of areas within the property, its buffer zones, and beyond. Together, the number of proposed and ongoing projects, the speed required to complete many of them by 2022, and the absence of adequate guidelines, regulations, and tools are very likely to threaten the OUV of the property. Therefore, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies recommend that the state party be requested to provide an in-depth study of all projects that may affect the World Heritage property, its buffer zone, and wider setting, as a matter of urgency and prior to issue construction permits. It is essential that full details of the technical documents and planning tools be thoroughly reviewed and mitigation measures considered for all projects, be they planned, ongoing, or implemented. Modifications may need to be considered for any contracts or permits already in place. Additionally, the master plan needs to be reviewed and approved before detailed plans can be envisaged for specific areas. It is therefore recommended that the state party be requested to invite a joint World Heritage Center ECOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the property at its earliest convenience. Mr. Chairperson, the draft decision can be found on page 23 of the both language versions of the document. With your permission, ECOMOS will now provide further comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ECOMOS, you are welcome.
Thank you, Chair. The Shanghai Cooperation International Summit, which will be hosted by Samarkand in 2022, has prompted the development of what is called a multifunctional Samarkand City Tourist Zone project that includes not only the development of hotels to service the summit, but also other projects to improve areas of the city, especially along the route from the airport. And some of these projects appear to include the demolition and redevelopment of some areas. Although the State Party has provided a list of projects, and it is clear that there is an urgency to complete them, mostly before the summit it takes place in 2022, so far no documentation has been provided of the precise locations or the scope and detail of these projects, some of which are in the property and some just outside in the buffer zone. And as I've said, it includes two areas that involve the demolition of houses and the relocation of residents. Given the very tight timescale, there does appear to be an urgency to allow due assessment of these projects before work commences. As we've had no formal details and only third-party information on what is planned and whether work has already started, the current situation is far from clear. The development needed to accommodate the summit has also been combined with other development to promote tourism, and both are linked to the development of a new master plan. While we welcome the development of this new master plan, which includes improvements to traffic arrangements, there are concerns that this document will not be produced until after many large development projects have already been accomplished. So all in all, we consider there is a degree of urgency to clarify this situation through requesting the State Party to provide all the necessary documents and impact assessment as soon as possible so that we can clarify what, if any, impact there is on the outstanding universal value of the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had some applies for the comments. Burkina Faso, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation voudrait d'abord prendre note des commentaires faits par le secrétariat et par l'ICOMOS concernant les impacts potentiels, je dis bien potentiels, des réalisations envisagées sur la VIE. Ma délégation voudrait aussi faire remarquer que l'État parti d'Ouzbékistan a déployé d'importants efforts pour renforcer la conservation et la gestion de la ville historique de Samarkand. Et en ce qui concerne le développement du tourisme faisant l'objet du projet de décision, l'État partie a également informé l'UNESCO conformément à l'article 172 des orientations concernant l'intention de construire un certain nombre d'infrastructures sans que cela n'augmente forcément la fréquentation, de façon compromettante le taux de fréquentation et n'affecte également la VIE. Et le site choisi pour implanter d'ailleurs ces infrastructures ont même été discutés avec l'UNESCO. Et c'est pourquoi je rejoins l'État partie d'Azerbaïdjan pour solliciter effectivement qu'on puisse examiner le projet de décision qui a été soumis et qu'on donne ensuite l'occasion à l'État partie d'Ouzbékistan de pouvoir fournir de plus en plus d'informations qui finiront certainement par nous convaincre de la nécessité de réviser justement le projet de décision pour tenir compte de ces changements importants qui ont été relevés, mais qui, comme l'UCOMOS l'a souligné, pourraient n'être que potentiels. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, please.
We like to support statement of Azerbaijan, and I want to add, I think the state party put great effort because 95 was decision to make master plan, and I was one of the co-author of this plan, what is part of the inscription in 2001, and I believe they have a power and goodwill to complete all recommendation what is done by advisory board. And then I think that taking consideration short period of time for this meeting will be to put all experts available to complete this project, and then especially to send a new mission to check situation, not to be dependent reports on some third party, but they have probably some private small interest to complain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Indonesia would like to thank the advisory body on the report of the state of conservation of the Samarkand crossroad of culture, Uzbekistan. We would like also to praise the state party for the efforts carried out to protect the property of outstanding universal value, despite the need to develop a number of infrastructure and tourism facilities within the property and its buffer zones. Indonesia recognizes that the state party has conducted many substantial efforts to prevent all possible adverse impact of the development project, including by the developing new master plan with heritage urban landscape approach, drafting new traffic scheme, updating its management plan, preparing a detailed project proposal related to Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, and submitting a document entitled Urban Design Guidelines for Priority Project in Samarkand to the World Heritage Center just recently. On this note, Indonesia expresses its concern on existence of prejudgment and misjudgment on the draft decision, not to mention some facts stated on the State of Conservation report are missing. In order to make the draft decision consistent with the reality on the ground, Indonesia would like to support the amendment proposed by the delegation of Azerbaijan. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Uganda, please.
Mr. Chairperson, the state party made in the last 2 years impressive efforts for strengthening the conservation and management of the historic site of Samarkand. Regarding the tourism development that is the object of the draft decision, the state party informed UNESCO in conformity with Article 172 of the operational guidelines about the intention to build 6 hotels and to refurbish 5 existing ones with no increase in height, and the selected locations have been discussed with UNESCO. In order to ensure that this development would not compromise outstanding universal value of the property, a team of experts prepared specific architectural and urban design guidelines for every development site to be followed by the selected architects. We do understand that final design proposals and heritage impact assessments will be submitted to the World Heritage Center as soon as they are completed. These facts need to be integrated in the decision and statements which are not in conformity with the above needed to be amended. Mr. Chairperson, you may find it necessary that the committee benefits from further information by the state party, which could be given an opportunity to make a statement on the matter at hand. We thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would start by commenting the report made by ICOMOS, which we thank very much. And according to this report, we understand that there are important concerns that need to be addressed by the state party. But we also understand from the report that there has been significant progress on the part of Uzbekistan in the protection of all World Heritage properties in the country, and particularly of Samarkand crossroads of cultures, as has been duly acknowledged by the report. The state party has also reported that the master plan is close to completion, integrating a detailed plan for the historic area and buffer zone, a tourism management plan, and a comprehensive conservation and development strategy, while the requirement for the heritage impact assessment has been incorporated into the national legislation. We therefore believe that considering the consistent evolution in the scenario and the importance of the site for sustainable tourism, as well as for the cultural identity of Uzbekistan, it would not be the case at this time to consider its inclusion on the list of World Heritage in danger. So we support the amendment proposed by Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan, and I would also highlight that the presence of the Vice Prime Minister of Uzbekistan to this meeting reflects the relevance the country attributes to the role of this World Heritage Committee, as well as the national commitment with the preservation of this extremely important site, not only to Uzbekistan, but to the whole world. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, we wish to state that we support the amendment to the draft decision by Azerbaijan and others. And we fully concur with all the previous speakers. We wish to commend the state party for their enormous efforts, and we appreciate that the Deputy Prime Minister is actually personally involved in overseeing all those efforts. I think we would like to use this opportunity also to encourage dialogue between the state party and the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies, And we hope that the chair would give the distinguished Deputy Prime Minister of Uzbekistan an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to go following. I would like to give the floor to the last speaker, Kuwait. We have 5 minutes more, and then we will have another enlisted 5 apply. So we will follow it after the lunch time. So now Kuwait, and then there will be advancement by Mrs. Rosler.
I'll promise you I'll make it very brief, Mr. Chair. First of all, let me start, the state party had made major efforts currently being made both national and local levels to improve the effectiveness of the property management and preserve the OUV. The state party reported that the master plan is close to be completed, an integrated detailed plan for the historic area and the buffer zone, with the requirement of the heritage impact assessment have been integrated into the legislation, which is a very positive thing from the state party. And we see the state party be involved in several, not just this site, also we have another site that we discussed last year, and how they show their willingness to improve and to preserve the heritage of their site. I have just one comment. We're looking at the report from the advisory board. It has a very negative nature, and it thinks, we recommend, a reactive monitoring mission with this, in coordination with the state party, to clarify a lot of the negative in that report, where we see a potential, a potential, and to have, the concrete information, to have a report that reflects things on the ground. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we stop our discussions, and we will resume them at 3 o'clock, 15:00. So please, now the floor is going to Mrs. Russell.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Il y a une réunion conjointe du groupe arabe et OCI, Organisation de la coopération islamique, à 14 heures, salle B7. Il y a aussi une réunion des experts arabes, 3e étage, couloir B, à 14 heures. Concernant, now for the side events, we have from 1:15 to 3 o'clock, the third cycle for periodic reporting exercise for the Arab States region in room A8. From 1 to 2, the German World Heritage Foundation in room B2. And from 1:10 to 2 o'clock, the World Heritage Networks with Tsukuba University in B3. The update of the IUCN Outlook in room B3 at 2:10. And of course, we have the budget working group in room AZ from 2 to 3 o'clock. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Have a nice time, and see you at 3 o'clock.